Folks, I've been sitting on this piece of news for months now, and I am so excited, bubbling with anticipation to share the news with you. But folks, I'm in a video game. Yes, folks, I'm happy to announce that yours truly can be found in the new RPG Wrestlequest, available right now on Steam and all major platforms. This game is a love letter to classic JRPGs and the golden era of pro wrestling, a hero's journey in tights, if you will. In Wrestlequest, you start out as a rookie and climb your way up the ranks on your way to entering the pantheon of the greats. It fully evolves the JRPG formula with timed button presses, pinning mechanics, a height meter, and some beautifully animated wrestling moves. Dozens of iconic and licensed wrestlers are going to be in the game, like Macho Man Randy Savage, Andre the Giant, Jeff Jarrett, Jacob the Snake Up, DDP, and many more. You can summon their powers in battle or even have them in your corner. But most exciting of all, I'm in the game, and just like Todd Pettengill did back in the day, I'm here to give you a little secret info on where to find me. Once you enter Pinfall Keep, you can find a 16-bit version of the Influencer as I sit on my throne of regret, challenging anyone to join the Regal Rumble to win the crown. Look at that cute little guy in the sweatsuit. It's just one small part of a much larger world that you'll find with WrestleQuest. Thanks so much to the great folks at Mega Cat Studios for putting me in WrestleQuest, truly a bucket list moment. And to honor this momentous occasion in my career, I'm going to give you a short little countdown featuring my favorite wrestling elements that are featured in non-wrestling games. What are some of your favorites? Write them down in the comment section below and see how they stack up to this list. Let's begin. Number 8, the Burning Thighs minigame in Final Fantasy VII Remake. As someone who never got very far in the original game, I was still interested in the brand new edition of Final Fantasy VII that dropped in 2020. I was excited to see the game in a more polished looking form, but didn't even know that Remake only covered a fraction of the story and that the rest of the remake is going to be put out on the PS5. Now, I could buy a PS5 if I wanted to, but considering how little time in my day I have to play video games at all, would it be worth it? But anyway, even if I don't pick up any future volumes of the game, I think I'll be happy knowing I got to play this little minigame that takes place in the Sector 6 slums. Upon entering a gym, you encounter a couple of characters who bear a strong resemblance to Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin back in their Team Angle days. The object of the game is to do more squats than your new friends. If you mess up the button sequence, you fall down and allow the others to beat you, but if you do well in all 3 rounds, you win a lovely championship belt, even though you can't actually see anyone wearing it. Now, if Cloud could hit the Omni Slash on Kurt Angle, now that'd be a game. Number 7, Bass Armstrong in Dead or Alive. If you're going to make a fighting game featuring an international roster of brawlers with distinct fighting styles, then one rule of thumb is pro wrestling has to be covered. From Zangief in the Street Fighter games to Wolf in Virtua Fighter and King in Tekken, there's always been the option to throw your opponent around with a good old-fashioned suplex instead of those flashy martial arts. But for my money, my favorite has to be Bass Armstrong from the Dead or Alive series. Like many wrestlers, Bass has evolved countless times over his long and illustrious career, from looking like a biker, to a cowboy, to a playboy, to the berserker. Some would say that Bass's appearance is loosely taken from Hulk Hogan. He even has a blonde daughter in the games named Tina who has aspirations of becoming an actress and/or model. Oh, and in DOA 5, he spends a lot of the story mode very poorly disguised as Mr. Strong. Sadly, the game does not feature a lie detector test minigame. Number 6, Incineroar in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Since I began playing the Smash Bros. Games when they first came out for the N64, Pikachu was usually my go-to. He wasn't very strong, but he made up for it by being very fast and efficient. But now after playing as Incineroar, I have to ask, who the hell did Pikachu ever beat? Continuing the tradition of wrestlers in fighting games, kinda, it's no surprise that these days when I play Ultimate, that Incineroar is often my first pick. Some players might not like him because he's one of the slowest characters in the game, but he's also one of the strongest and the toughest, and that results in some quick and early eliminations even on low percentage fighters. I hardly ever need to use his smash moves because his tilt attacks alone are so devastating, but you need to look out for when he throws opponents into the ring ropes, as it opens up the potential for different earth-shaking combinations. His revenge maneuver where he takes an opponent's attack and throws it back at them is ridiculous, though I can't tell you how many times I killed myself on that damn cross chop attack, the equivalent of hitting yourself in the head with a chair that bounces off the ropes. Number 5, New Japan wrestlers in Yakuza 6, The Song of Life. I'm going to preface this by saying that the Yakuza games are the only one on this countdown I've never actually played, but the cameos here are so big and so cool it's impossible to ignore. In the clan creator side story of Yakuza 6, you encounter Justice, a gang that was originally formed as sort of an anti-gang meant to wipe out the other gangs, but eventually became one of those regular old bad gangs. This group is led by a fictionalized version of Kazuchika Okada, who's part of the group's 6 lunatics, also made up of Tanahashi, Naito, Tenzan, Toru Yano, and Kojima! Kojima! Lariat! Lariat! Sorry about that. As the story progresses, you fight each of these 6 lunatics and get them to join your cause, with Okada as the team's final boss. Once you've bested them all, they assist you in your final battle against Justice. Honestly, this appearance is worth it just for Okada's ability in the game to have money just fly out of his body. Number 4. Link's Radiant Armor in The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. I was a late adapter to the Nintendo Switch, so I'm finally coming around to games that have been around for what feels like forever. Case in point, Breath of the Wild. Even though Tears of the Kingdom recently came out and everyone's talking about that, I'm still working hard on the previous game, trying my darndest to accomplish every side mission, vanquish every giant beast, and of course catch all those Koroks. What's that? There are how many in the game? Oh, on second thought, never mind. One thing I really enjoy about BOTW is all the different outfits you can earn, upgrade, and customize. And since I'm a huge wrestling nerd, of course I rock Link's Radiant Armor on the regular. Made from special luminous stones you mine from all over Hyrule, this outfit resembles that of a skeleton, but one look at that mask and you can tell there's definitely some Lucha Libre influence there. Check out how it glows at night, baby. Ooh, it's even got a little belt! Number 3. Guacamelee. I haven't played the game for a few years now, but believe me when I say I still think about this kick-ass side-scrolling beat-em-up often. Guacamelee is a Metroidvania-style game that may have come out a decade ago, but with its distinct and unique art style, its wild cast of characters, and its addictive fighting mechanic, it still holds up. Drawing heavily from Mexican folklore, you play a humble agave farmer who dies, is granted immense lucha libre powers in the afterlife, and returns to the land of the living to save El Presidente's daughter from an evil Charo skeleton. The lucha-themed offense takes a bit of time to learn, but a lifetime to master, as you're constantly bombarded with evil skeletons, putrid beasts, and other unpleasantness who can all be defeated in different ways and combinations. The game also features a world-switching mechanic, allowing you to teleport between the lands of the living and the dead, with different paths, obstacles, and enemies in each. What you do in one world affects the other, and vice versa. There's just so much fun to be had exploring and re-exploring the vast world you're playing in, discovering all sorts of Easter eggs and other hidden gems that make this game so great and so timeless. Number 2. Saints Row the Third and the Fourth. As someone who loves both pro wrestling and open world games, the third and fourth installments of the Saints Row series were definitely my jam. The first time I ever played Saints Row 3, I immediately fell in love with the irreverent humor and the outrageous action. Just diving feet first into a car was fun for me. I was immensely tickled that one of the gangs you fight in Saints Row the Third was an actual group of militant luchadors, headed up by a violent and well-dressed wrestler named Killbane. It was awesome to assign wrestling taunts to your character, and seeing souped-up wrestling moves used to defeat enemies. I even loved the fact that Rob Van Dam and Hulk Hogan lent their voices to the project, even if Hogan played an old luchador who didn't look anything like how he sounded.
Unless you harden up, Killbane will crush you. But don't worry, I'll chisel you out of diamond.
Then of course there's the fourth installment of the series, which features a lot more of the same from the previous version, adding their loving tribute to Roddy Piper and Keith David's fight scene in They Live, complete with the Hot Rod himself providing his own voice and likeness. Such a double whammy of a throwback, very entertaining. Considering how many references were included, it's clear how much the writing and art teams for these games loved and appreciated pro wrestling. If you're a wrestling fan, I think you'll appreciate how that love comes out in these frenetic and at times zany games. And my number 1 favorite wrestling thing in a non-wrestling game is the entirety of Def Jam Vendetta and Def Jam Fight for New York. Before AEW came along and tried their best to recreate the magic of those AKI games on the N64, it turns out AKI themselves did the same thing years earlier to amazing results. We didn't know how good we had it with those first 2 Def Jam titles. They were the perfect hybrid of hip-hop and pro wrestling, featuring some of the most innovative offense we were seeing in fighting games at the time. Yes, Vendetta and Fight for New York are technically fighting games, but with the AKI engine and all those familiar wrestling moves, it is as close to a wrestling game without officially being one that you can get. Both games feature rosters chock full of licensed rappers and assorted fictional tough guys battling in wrestling rings, bars, parking garages, and fight pits all over the city, busting out some of the most ridiculous finishing maneuvers I've ever seen before or since. The story mode for these games, especially Fight for New York, are incredibly entertaining to follow. It's gritty gangland melodrama played out by fictionalized versions of hip-hop stars. Classic stuff. The level of customization your character can obtain in New York is especially fun as you try to get the most expensive stuff. And once you've conquered those story modes, you'll want to play through the whole cast of characters just to see what their movesets look like, all while a vibrant and catchy soundtrack plays underneath it all. Def Jam's Vendetta and Fight for New York are a perfect pair of games that are fun on all levels, from the varying combat styles to the rapper tie-ins to the replay factor to the graphics and everything in between. These are my favorite wrestling things in a non-wrestling game. That being said, we can all still agree, Icon fucking sucked. Thanks for watching, everyone, and don't forget to check out Wrestlequest, out now on Steam and all major consoles. Don't forget to look for me in Pinfall Keep and try to win that Regal Rumble. Be sure to give the video a thumbs up if you like it, comment below, subscribe to Wrestling with Regret, and hit that bell icon to get all the notifications. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.